Okay, you guys. All right, listen up. So this is what I have done with our week at a glance. Because I really honestly am struggling. I've deleted Thursday and Friday. Currently there is no plan. Because I'm really struggling for the people at home. I feel like Romeo and Juliet is an in-class experience, and a lot of people who have been at home, they're struggling. They've missed the entire first act. They don't understand it, I feel like, the way that you do. And did you guys see the email, or did your parents tell you about how the week of Thanksgiving you're not going to school at all? So Monday and Tuesday that week you are remote learning. So you are still learning, but you'll be remote on Monday and Tuesday. So that just means what? Just next week, and then it's Thanksgiving, right? I'm not wrong about that, am I? Well, no, those 2 days you're off now. I just said that. Glad you're with us. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining class. Okay, so next week we have school, and then Monday and Tuesday of Thanksgiving they have moved to remote learning. Did you hear that? So I think we might do our activity today with Romeo and Juliet, and then Thursday, Friday, and next week find something else to do that would be beneficial for you, but also something that won't put the people at home further behind. So you can imagine if you haven't been here for any of Romeo and Juliet, and then you come back and we're in the middle of Act 2 or the end of Act 2, and I tell you have to write a paper, like for them that sucks, right? Because they haven't gotten, even though I'm recording the screen, it's not the same. They don't hear your class discussion after when we start reading and everything. So I just think that we might put a hold on Romeo and Juliet. I think that's the best thing to do. I know the school's intention is after Thanksgiving to come back full go, and most quarantines should be over by then. So we might be able to squeeze another weekend before the quarantines start up again. But I do want your guys' opinion. How do you feel about that? Okay, so you do think that's a good idea? In my mind, it's a good idea, even though I hate like stopping the momentum, but like every single day more of you go home. Okay, good. Yeah. Okay, good. So this is what we're gonna do. Today we are going to do the analyze the text questions, and I'll go over that in just a second. And then I think we'll probably do some kind of grammar / vocabulary boot camp for a week, which wouldn't hurt. I think that we can all use that. And it's something that gets overlooked a lot for other things. So we'll probably do something along those lines for the next 7 days. And then remote learning, I don't know what we'll do. We'll figure it out. So cool. Today will be our last day of Romeo and Juliet until after Thanksgiving break. So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens after they meet. If you get really bored, you can watch the movies. But okay, cool. I think that that's the best move for everybody. But my only fear is like, what if we go remote and then we never come back? No. Yeah. You'll probably, if we go full remote, they'll probably make it where you go to class and you every day, so you sit on your computer all day. I know, that's why you people saying this would be great. It's not great. It's not great. Okay. Okay. All of you at Thanksgiving, do the little Thanksgiving wishbone and wish that the virus goes away. Like every night. Okay, let's look at what you're doing today then. I just posted this in classroom last period when I was teaching math. And actually sitting there and watching people do math, that's what I was doing. So these questions are in your textbook. They're on page 3. Oh, I didn't put it on there. 315 or something? 312? It's on the week at a glance. It's on page 312. The questions are on page 312. They are also on this slide. I'm going to pull this slide up to show the questions because I'm recording this for people at home so they see what I'm talking about. But yours are on the in the textbook on page 312. So I do want you to type your answers on a Word document. And those of you in class, you can work with people sitting next to you and just like do this together. Or you can work by yourself, whatever you want to do. But if you want to like partner up with somebody who's sitting semi-close to you, you can. People at home are working by themselves, obviously. So you guys are answering just 4 questions, but each question is worth 5 points. So this is a 20-point assignment. So I do want you to make sure that you are answering the questions thoroughly. Some of you, the thorough part is like you're overly thorough. So just make sure that you're answering what every question asks of you. Okay. And you're skipping question number 4. So you're doing 1, 2, 3, and 5, I think is what it is. But so the first one is an important theme, is about fate, which we talked about yesterday. So, explain how Act 1's prologue establishes fate, which we talked about, and why do you think Shakespeare tells the audience the fate of the main characters? Meaning, why do you think he tells the audience that these people are going to die before the play starts? Like, what is your opinion on that? Why do you think he does that? So I want you to analyze this or interpret the text. The second one is predict. Review the foreshadowing in scene 5. Juliet says in scene 5, you might have to go back and look for the exact part, but she says, my grave is like to be my wedding bed. I think that the question in your textbook says the page is on. I did not put it on here because they don't have textbooks at home. But paraphrase, meaning in your own words, what does that line mean? And then what do you think it's going to foreshadow, which should be obvious. Question number 3 is the foil characters. Now, I have already told you that Tybalt and Romeo are foil characters. I do not want you to use those 2 as examples because they have not yet been in a scene where they have spoken to each other. Okay? I want you to pick 2 people. So it says identify 2 sets of characters who are in the same scene together. Okay? So in order for us to know that they're foil characters, we need to see them interacting, and we have not seen Tybalt and Romeo interacting together. So let's talk about this really quickly because I can help you come up with what 2 characters you see sharp contrast between when they have been in the same scene. So does anybody have an example? We have 2 characters who have been together in a scene who are very different. Can anybody think of one example of that? Yeah, Mason. Okay, Mercutio. Okay, very good. So you could use Mercutio and Romeo as an example. And I want you to think about that on your own. How are they very different from each other? And when they're next to each other, how do we see those differences? Did you have one? Okay, Juliet and Lady Capulet, or who else in Lady Capulet? The nurse and Lady Capulet would be another good example. We see how different they are when they're next to each other. Okay, so those are probably our best examples of people who have been in a scene together so far. We see how vastly different the relationship between the nurse and Juliet is, and Lady Capulet and Juliet, right? So there's a sharp contrast there. And we see a sharp contrast between Mercutio and Romeo. That's another very good one. Or actually Romeo and any of them, Benvolio also, right? So Romeo and his friends. So I just want you to explain, what do we learn about the characters when we see them next to each other? Okay. And then in this last one, in Act 1, Scene 5, there's an aha moment when Romeo realizes that Juliet is a Capulet. How do you think this will change the direction of the plot? How could it? Obviously, you don't know. You know what's going to end up happening at the end, but you don't know how they get there. So what do you think? Him realizing she's a Capulet, do you think that's going to matter? Do you think that's going to change the direction of the plot? What are your thoughts? You can be wrong. It's okay, as long as you're making educated guesses. Like if you're like, well, he's probably going to go to the moon. Like that wouldn't make sense. But if you're making some kind of an educated guess, it's okay if you miss this. Okay. So again, if you want to work with other people, you can partner up with somebody close to you, and then you just turn in one document between the two of you. One of you type it up and put both your names on it. Or if you just want to sit there and work by yourself, that's fine. You can feel free to work by yourself and chat about it with other people. It's completely up to you. I think that you should be able to get this done today, but if not, just make sure it's submitted by tomorrow. So if you need to work on it tonight or in Hornet time or something, you need to take a break from Among Us and Hornet Time and finish your assignment, Emma, then you can. Otherwise, this is what you're doing. So if you have questions for me, let me know, but make sure, this is where people always mess up. Make sure you answer every part of the question. So if it says like explain, or if it says who are the foil characters, why are they foil characters, what do you learn, then make sure you answer all of those parts. Okay. You don't have to overly explain, but make sure that you do what the question asks. Okay. So however you want to make this happen, that's what you're doing. Any questions? Okay, go ahead and get started. This is not a quiz, so feel free to chat about it. Oh no.